Welcome to GBIRL, the podcast looking at the real business world of esports, gaming, and streaming with the people and personalities behind it all. Here is your host, Bill the Conqueror.
Hey again, everybody. I am Bill the Conqueror. Welcome back to the podcast. You know, I get notifications on my phone. I don't know how people send me these text messages, but I get these. I get notifications on my phone. I get emails. I see it in Twitter all the time. This concept behind volunteer computing, which is basically for and I had to read more on this myself, where when you're not gaming, which is rare, of course, but when you're not doing something on your computer, that you share your computer's processing power voluntarily to help out other research projects that are going on. There's a whole, and I did some research on this. There's a whole foundation. There's a whole infrastructure behind this concept, and I've always been kind of leery about it. But when I saw a tweet from someone I trust, Dr. Anthony Bean at Geek Therapeutics, I'm like, well, he's somebody I trust, so maybe I should check into this. And he introduced me to the two people that you see on the screen in front of you. I have Dolly and Kevin from LeylineGG, and I'm like, okay, there's got to be something to this, because if the CEO leaves Blizzard to start a non-profit where the whole concept is allowing people to use your computer when you're not technically using it, like, okay, this probably is something more than what I think it is, because I'm locked into this brain concept of this. All I hear this from is when it comes to cryptocurrency, mining Bitcoin. And I'm like, I don't want to spend 90 hours a month for 0.020025 pieces of a Bitcoin. So I have with me Dolly and Kevin from LeylineGG. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you very much for making time for me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us. You have a great radio voice.
Thank you. I've been doing this, I think now for going on 3 years. So I kind of have the shtick kind of refined. I've kind of got few things leveled out. So just a quick intro for each of you. How did you get into Leyline? A little bit of history about yourself. So go right ahead.
Kevin, you want to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely, sure. I guess my backstory, the reason I'm involved with Leyline is because I worked with Jeremy at Blizzard.
Okay.
Jeremy, for a couple of years while he was at Blizzard, out of the 10-ish that he was there, ran international esports. So he was working with people like Amy Morheim and Kim Fawn. I worked in that department as part of the public relations department. And I left Blizzard at the end of 2018, and a couple years later, Jeremy reached out and said, hey, I'm doing this thing. Let's chat and see if there's a fit. And honestly, just incredibly inspiring vision. Like, he has such an enormous plan for what Leyline can be. And I instantaneously, I was like, yep, absolutely. Like, my 2020 has been weird. I founded my own company. So I basically partnered up with Jeremy and said, yeah, anyone I can help, let's do this.
Right, and I met Jeremy just seeing him in an activist situation. We were working for a political campaign, and just seeing him just volunteer his hours, even though, he was working at Blizzard at the time, it was great to see his heart. And he told me about Leyline, and I was like, I've seen you on the field. You're literally, your hands are dirty, and you're just trying to help the world. Like, I want to be a part of that. And yeah, it's been a really cool journey, and we've got some great team members at Leyline.
Very nice. Okay, so I try to keep an open mind as much as possible. It's pretty much why I do this podcast, to talk to people who are smarter than me, who do things that I don't know. So give me just a short little bit about what is Leyline? Why are you doing it? So I guess the base question is, how do you use my computer? And I'm not using it, I guess is the question.
Definitely, yeah. I think this is one of the first things everybody asks because it's just kind of an overwhelming concept. Like, how on earth does this work?
Right.
So the short version is, if you've been plugged into the Matrix for long enough, you might remember things like Folding at Home or SETI at Home, where we were trying to analyze radio waves from space and see if there were aliens trying to communicate with us. That project was founded at the Berkeley University, and that's basically the platform that we are starting out with at Leyline. Leyline's vision here is very much one of, like, there's so much stuff that people can do to help charities, to help causes they care about, and a lot of them are things that don't cost you any money, right? There's ways that you can do something that makes the world a better place by, exercising so that you're healthier, which reduces the load on healthcare systems, by donating blood, because so many people, every cancer patient who ever goes to a hospital needs blood, every single one of them, all of them. Like, these are all things that we can do to make the world a better place, and the obvious place for us to start as a company full of, former Blizzard employees and ex-gamers and people who are just really jacked into that scene was, we know all of these people who have battle stations, right? Not just like a desktop computer that they goof around on, but like serious hardware that can do incredible stuff.
Right.
And Boink, the tool that runs kind of behind the scenes to do Folding at Home and SETI at Home and all that stuff.
Right.
The research team at Berkeley picks all of these things that they think are important. There's ways that, like, the projects that they're involved with can utilize distributed computing, and then we're partnering with them and incentivizing people to utilize their tools to help them grow their user base and build out our platform. So basically, we've got companies, you mentioned Geek Therapeutics, they're one of our founding partners. Companies like that are going to work with us to create rewards and incentives that people are excited about, donate them to Leyline. Leyline is going to connect you to Boink and to other opportunities to donate or volunteer, not money, but time or processing power. And in exchange, as you donate that processing power or your time or whatever that looks like, in return, you're going to get discount codes and gift cards and items in your favorite games. And hopefully we're just going to create this engine that will slowly empower people to make a difference. And we're starting with gamers because that's who we know.
Got it. Okay.
And I think there's something to be said during this time, right? We're the wealthiest country in the world, and we're kind of struggling. We are struggling, and we're figuring out a way to mix, doing good without having to think too much and getting a lot back in return. It's a give and take, And if you're already struggling to think about food, how can you think of climate change? How can you think of giving back to people? And it starts really simple by not really doing anything. Almost, it's just like donating your computer, and you feel good about it at the end of the day. And then it's an incentive to do more because it's so easy to do good. And I think that's at the core of what Leyline is trying to do, is saying we don't need so much to do. A little bit goes a long way, basically.
Right. I totally understand what you're saying, that you would rather 10,000 people donate 10 minutes of their time than one person donate 10,000 minutes of their time, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. So I just spent it's okay, sorry. I just spent several $1,000s on a brand new computer. It has a Ryzen 9, it has a really nice graphics card. So what does it look like when I'm like at work, or if I'm sleeping, or if I'm not doing this, if I'm not gaming, what does it actually look like? Is it something to where Is it something that works if the computer's off? Does it always have to be on? Give me the logistics, I guess.
So Boink as a tool is a processing tool, right?
Okay.
Basically what's happening is the tool is contacting a server, so you've got to be online.
Right.
And it's asking that server, what's next? What can I help with?
Okay.
The server says, here's a chunk of a calculation that we need performed that we can assign to you. And then your computer is utilizing its processing power, so primarily CPU, In some computers, if you've got a discrete graphics card,
Mhm.
that can also contribute to your raw processing power.
Okay.
Those calculations that need to be performed, right? Folding a protein or whatever the
Okay.
current need is based on the individual science or medical research project, you get a little snippet of that, and your computer is just basically acting as one tiny part of a very, 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 very large calculator.
And what's great is,
Okay.
you know, we're all concerned. We're gamers. We have really intense computers. You can choose to turn it off anytime as well, which is a great perk in doing this. So it won't destroy your computer either.
Yeah, it's definitely designed as a way to utilize unutilized processor power. So this isn't something you're going to
Okay.
run while you're sitting and like playing a game or
Right.
while you're working. It's something that you can leave your computer on while you go eat dinner or take a shower or whatever.
Right.
And it's just going to sit there and utilize the power that you're not using to do something that makes a difference out there in the world. It's enabling complex and otherwise very expensive scientific research.
Right. Okay. Okay. So it's sharing the load across as many computers as possible to get the work done faster. Okay, got it. Now, I know when it comes to startups in every industry, every CEO, every founder, there's like one moment in time where you're like, this is it. I got it. There's this problem. I can fix it. So whether it's for yourselves or for Jeremy specifically, what was that one moment where you went, there's this problem and I know how to solve it?
That's a big question. You get to go first on this one.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I think that's a big question because there's so many moving parts at Leyline. It's
Right.
just not one moment.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
the easiest way for me to answer it, where I felt like I was making a difference and I wanted to be a part of it, was just even the structure of working on this startup with Jeremy.
Okay.
You know, he told us his background. He quit Blizzard and wanted to create a system where it didn't feel like it was a hierarchy. You know, everybody had value, a part of this
Okay.
structure. And you know, I'm a freelancer.
Mhm.
I do photo and video outside of this. I never had a 9 to 5 because it was this weird dynamic of like, well, I'm bringing value to this place, but you're not treating me as an equal. Like, you know, you have to be an apprentice, or if 20 people are complaining about something and then one person oversees it, it's not really a democracy either, of moving parts. And I think that's what I like about Jeremy. There's so much transparency. Even as we're doing this startup, we're putting our all hands on meetings, our Zoom calls on
Right.
YouTube. There's no secrets. Like, it's just open for improvement, and I just love the transparency, but also the equality of just making sure that everybody is happy. And he checks in with us every single day, which is very often not heard of in a CEO. And
Yeah.
I just love that.
Okay.
I guess for me, the last like year has obviously been very strange for everybody, but it was especially strange for me because I have a daughter who just turned 1, and so the last year for me has been this rapid flurry of changes. I got my green card and became an American permanent resident. We had our first child. I worked also on a political campaign, not the same campaign, but I worked on one of the Democratic presidential primaries, and I kind of got a chance to look around and go, you know what, like, I've spent my entire career working in all these different places that fundamentally advanced very small things, right? I worked for a university, I worked for a government, I worked for big companies like Blizzard. Working on a campaign, I got to look around and go, like, if I do this right, if I get involved in these things and actually put my talent and my time to use on something that matters, I can actually make change that people will see. I can get things done that will matter. I got the political campaign I worked on to endorse a state level policy platform item while I was working on it, and like, that's a nothing thing in the grand scheme of things, but it was a small step in the right direction. And what Jeremy is proposing, what he came to the table with, was basically, what if we amass an army of people who all want to take itty bitty tiny steps in the right direction? How much can we do when we assemble that army of people? And it's been really, I think, for me, incredibly rewarding to look around and realize that Like I said, I founded my own business, I did all these things, and now I'm using all of the expertise that I have accumulated over the course of a 15-year career and time spent working in multiple countries. I've worked in Canada and the US, I've worked for a startup headquartered in Singapore, I've worked in every time zone imaginable. Now I'm taking all of those experiences and jamming them into how can we make Leyline make sense? How can we make Leyline communicate that vision in a way that gets other people as excited as we are? Because it won't take very much. Like, I think people really underestimate how incredibly powerful a group of gamers are. If you could get half of the people you know who play games to donate $1 to something, that's millions of dollars overnight. That's money that could transform the world. Unfortunately, we know most people don't have the single dollar even laying around to throw at a problem. What they have is time or computers or energy or something that they can give of themselves that doesn't cost them anything. And that to me makes a ton of sense. Like, why not enable all these people to put their time and their energy into things they care about rather than just constantly knocking on people's doors asking for more and more and more money? That's not how we change the world. We change the world by getting people involved.
So so what it sounds like to me is that you're trying to solve the ongoing problems that we all have, whether it's you're talking climate change, income disparity, things like that. But you're approaching it from the standpoint of, okay, let's not think of it from the money, and let's think of it from a time, and we all have time, and how can we bring all that time together in one ball to get everything done? Is that a fair statement?
So
I would say so too. Yeah, and I also believe in not necessarily telling you this is what you have to do, right? Like, when you're doing good, there is like a passion behind it, and I think that's the model too of Leyline. It's just like, here's something you can do, you already enjoy it, it's easy, you don't have to think about it, and again, you're making really significant change based on that, and going back to Jeremy, he left Blizzard because, well, although it's a great company, he worked there for years and years and realized, wow, we have all these resources, talented people, and we have billions and millions of dollars basically from all these games that are being made, but where he felt stuck, and we all feel kind of stuck sometimes when we're working for something and realizing there's nothing we're leaving an impact towards, kind of like what Kevin was saying, working on these really amazing projects but not feeling anything inside, really, and on a philosophical level.
Right. It's really interesting that you bring that up. One of the first articles that I ever wrote online, I went to Evo 2017 in Vegas, and I ran into some former Activision developers, and they had left the company to make their own game, and I'm like, okay, what's the non-gaming moment where you went, this is great, I have a paycheck, but there's more. There's something out there that I want to do, and I'm kind of restricted in this environment. And these guys went on to build a fighting game based upon coffee, and I'm like, that's what you want to do? It's like, yeah, this is it. I'm like, you're working on Call of Duty. I think one or two of the guys worked on No Russian, and I'm like, you guys built the most controversial scene in a game ever, and you're making a fighting game about coffee. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, what the heck? And one of them said, I have a family, I have kids, and then, having children changes your life. So how do I explain to my daughter, to my son, I made this game? And they're like, and it's that whole concept of realizing the world is larger than you are. There are major issues that are going on, and how do you make that change? And I think that's a really interesting interesting threshold that a lot of gamers cross, is that you get into this world and you're like, this is awesome, and then you realize I can do something, but what do I do? And then the whole concept behind what you guys are doing is, hey, we're not asking for you to donate $5 a month or $100 at a time. We're asking you to give just of your own time when you're not gaming, when you're with your family, when you're sleeping. In fact, you could get this done while you're sleeping, right?
The theory. And I mean, honestly, like, Jeremy talks about this all the time in all the interviews he does. One of the things that really, I think, changed for him, in addition to the fact that he's just always wanted to find ways to give back, because, I mean, he's lived it, right? He's seen what people go through in other parts of the world. He's traveled extensively. He knows how hard things can be for people. But he also talks a lot about his kids. He talks a lot about how, he remembers what it was like to be the child of a family that had immigrated to the United States. He remembers what it's like to hear the stories from your family and all the things that they did to try to make the world better for their kids. You know? And we just are so, I think, far removed from that we don't have a frame of reference, right? Like, I have my grandfather passed away a few years ago, but he fought in the Second World War, right? That was his way of trying to make the world a better place for his kids. We're not going to do that, because what we need to do is fix the planet. We've got to stop the rate at which the climate is changing before it's too late. We've got to figure out how, despite the fact that there's more than enough food to feed everyone on Earth, huge swaths of it go to waste, destroyed during logistics, or thrown out as leftovers or whatever. There's more empty houses in the United States than there are homeless people. Like, it's just so obvious that we have the resources to make sure that everyone gets what they need, and then we aren't doing it. So that's our challenge. Is
Got it.
Now, how do we talk to our kids, a decade from now, when they're old enough to understand, and say, yeah, we looked around and went, this isn't okay. And I don't think it's about just having kids. I don't think that's the you don't just like turn the page and hit a new chapter and go, oh, holy shit. Like, I think we've all sort of realized as time has passed that the things that, like, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he was talking about his memories of growing up. I grew up in central Canada. Everything's covered in snow 6 months out of the year. Like, you do Halloween in the snow. You do, like, the long weekends in April and May in the snow. It's just snow forever, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And kids now aren't having those same experiences. Like, I have photos of big piles of snow that we hollowed out to make caves and tunnels in, and all the cool stuff that we did as kids, that at the time we were like, oh, why do we have to do this? I just want to go inside and play video games. And now you look around and realize that much snow doesn't fall. Like, the world is not the same place it was just in our lifetime. The things that I could experience as a child, my children can't experience. And that's not a unique experience to a parent. Everybody's looking around and going, where did all of these things go? Why are all of these insects dead? Why is it so hard to grow plants? Like, what changed? And everyone is so aware, I think, that the world is not the place it was, and nobody else is going to fix it for us.
Right. And I think, going off what Kevin said, is intention of time, right? Not everybody has kids, but something that Jeremy went through that I also went through in April was we lost our parents. And that is something that everybody will go through, a loss of some sort, to realize, what am I doing with my time? I may be working at $1 billion company, but gosh, like, I need to think about, how am I going to leave an impact? How will my kids be okay? Like, have I been spending my time to make sure the people around me feel good? And that feel good thing, you don't really just get from money or stuff, right? It's just helping somebody else. And that's something that can't be taught either. It's just a feeling you get that when you want to do good, and that's something that we're focusing on, right?
Yeah, this is like the grown-up experience of it feels better to give a gift than receive one. Like,
right.
This is that on steroids. We
Got it.
finally found our way to do something that will make people feel better, and in return, we're doing something that matters. We're doing something that is rewarding by virtue of what it is, and that's it. Like, how much we get in return doesn't matter. We're just gonna do the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
And the time is a huge factor in that too, right? Like, you can spend time with your family and do good. You can leave your computer on and go to sleep. Like, there's no huge sacrifice, right? I think that's an amazing concept alone. I can have it all.
Right. Okay. This, I really like the thought process behind this. And then with any startup, with any concept, with anything that you want to get done in life, there's always barriers. So I guess from where you are to where you've been to where you are now, sort of to talk about some of the challenges you've had, how you've overcome them, what you're facing right now, what you could see coming maybe 6 months, 12 months down the road.
Yeah, I mean, this is an incredibly complicated thing that we're trying to build.
Yeah.
And it takes a ton of people, a ton of expertise. We have a dizzying array of people who are working on this. People from all walks of life, from all over the world. Our team is upwards of 50 people now. We've got native speakers of like a dozen languages. We've got people in North America, South America, Europe, some in Asia now. It's kind of astonishing. And to build this world-class team of people who all care, right? And I think that's the biggest challenge, truthfully, in the short term, is we have to find people who get it. We have to find people who really grok that this is more important than taking a cushy pencil-pushing job at some big tech company. Because all the people that are working on this are that level of talented. They could all go work for Google or Microsoft or wherever. And instead, they're choosing to come and do this thing. Leyline is a non-profit. No one's going to get rich working at Leyline. In fact, one of the core philosophies that Jeremy is trying really hard to espouse and get everybody on board with is no one at Leyline gets to be a millionaire until all poverty is eradicated worldwide. So if you've got that much money, if somehow you get to a point where you have that much money, donate it, give it away. Like, we're going to try to get to a place where Leyline staff are individually contributing to pushing for universal basic income all over the world, trying to really just solve these enormous problems at scale. That means we need people who care, not just people who are good at what they do. But then in addition to that, obviously, to build a team that size of people who care still costs a lot of money. And I think that's the thing that people are struggling to kind of see in what we're doing right now is the path forward is very clear. The objectives are, big, and they're going to take a long time, but they're also very clear. In the short term, to stand up a world-class platform, to build tools, to set up our games in our arcade and film content and work with talented influencers and do all these things that will fundamentally be what increases our reach and builds out the audience for people who are going to use Leyline. We have to be able to pay people to build those things.
Right.
So that's probably the immediate short-term barrier is we have a GoFundMe campaign. We're working on sponsorship arrangements. We're trying to find people who can help us build this thing. Because as much as we just finished saying, we want people's time, not their money, to get this thing off the ground, to get the plane in the air, we've got to have enough money to get it off the ground. That's really like barrier number one right now, is making sure that we have the ability to compensate people to build a world-class set of tools so that we can have the successes we want to have.
Right, and going off of what Kevin said as well about finding people who believe in our core value is very important. That even Jeremy says that him as a CEO will change every 4 years or so years to keep it fresh, to keep us always improving and growing. No one person is going to be in the same position, and I think that is really incredible, considering that's the problem in our government as well. We need new people coming in and out and bringing in changes. Of course, it's a startup, so there's going to be growing pains. I think our main challenge is just getting people to be on board and understand the vision. It's just going to take a little bit more time for people to see, wow, like this is awesome. There's so many talented people on board. It's just the dialogue and communication is what we're trying to hone in on, and of course the GoFundMe is up as well.
So I know that on the whole, gamers in general are a pretty a giving group. They get behind important causes. I believe there's a big campaign going on right now, Give to Game, that is going on right now across multiple platforms with multiple streamers, and that is doing very well. I also know that humans in general, when it comes to a compassion, everyone has a cap. Everyone has a point at which you're like, I'm tired. I cannot go on right now. I need a break. I need to recharge me. I need to take care of me before I can take care of somebody else. How do you guys deal with that yourselves? How do you talk about that when it comes to people that you work with, or with the people that you talk to that you want support from?
You know, that's one of the main things that I loved about working at Leyline, because I told you I am full-time freelancing. You know, I'm self-employed. I have to put my time into my art and my craft. And when I first started, it was like a really small group. Jeremy literally said, just do as much as you can.
Okay.
You know, right? Like with your time, with everything going on in your life, just do as much as you can. And for me, not having worked at a normal 9-to-5 situation with hours, I was like, there's no way. I'm like so selfish with my time. There's no way I'm going to just willingly do this. And it worked. I literally was like, this is amazing. Like him just believing in the value of my time, needing a break, needing to reset, made me want to work even harder when I had the time and the hours to do so. I think the transparency and communication of like what we need is really important, right? Because not everybody is on every single day. We need breaks. We have things that happen in our lives that a normal job situation doesn't even offer right now. You know, like maternity leave, helping people when their families have trouble.
So it's interesting that you say that, Dolly, because as a freelancer, you are the business. You are your business. You are your food. You are your house. You are your car. Your time, exchanging that time for the money that you need to just basically live. And that doesn't count spending time with your friends, going out for something to eat, having a nice a pair of shoes. I mean, so for you, having the time and wanting to spend the time on something that is not necessarily going to give you that you know, you have your timeline on your project. I'm going to get paid on this day and this day, and I know that. And then so it's really awesome that you have a CEO who's like, look, I realize that you got to eat. I just want some of your time to do some things. That's all I want. And I think that's really awesome.
You know, everybody feels the same way. We have so many great people working on this who, like Kevin said, could be working at Google or Microsoft, but we all believe in the vision. And you can't pay anybody enough to get that. Like, that is just self-driven passion, seriously.
Got it.
For sure. I think it's also super important, I think, to realize that, like, this is one of the things that makes Leyline tick, and one of the reasons that people are drawn to whatever energy is flowing out of Jeremy is that he gets it, right? Like, I told him up front a while back that I was going to take the week of Thanksgiving off. I was burnt out. I needed some time. I needed some space to recharge. I ended up doing a little bit of stuff that really needed to get done because of the timing of our crowdfunding campaign launch and a handful of other, like, must-do things. But I'm coming off of a vacation. I just took the first real break I've taken in years, and I got a chance to recharge and reset. This is a group of people that understands that you don't do your best work by being chained to a desk for 8 hours. It's a group of people who understands that the quality of your work has nothing to do with the quantity of your time. And especially for people who are creative, like, I know Dolly gets this intrinsically. I don't do my best work as a creative person by sitting in one spot, staring at a screen and waiting for the good ideas to flow out. I do my best work by going somewhere else, getting inspired, being away from my desk.
Right.
The way I treat it, the way I see it, when people ask, they say, you know, how many hours do you work? And I go 24/7, constantly, because some of my best ideas I get at 3 in the blessed morning, and I wake up and I put them in my phone and deal with them later. Like, there's not a time where it shuts off, but at the same time, it's not a well I can draw on command. If you're like, hey, have a great idea right now, go. That's not gonna happen. It's just not how anybody works.
Make art now.
Yeah, do the thing. Do it right now. Yeah, you know, I totally understand what you're saying. I've written several fiction stories, and you don't get inspired at on Tuesday at 2 p.m. because you put it in your
inspiration meeting.
Yeah. It's like it's like I'm gonna put this in my phone. So 2 p.m. from 2 p.m. to 2:07, I'm going to be creative. Go. It's not how this works, and I totally get that. So you're talking there, Kevin, about your launch, about your GoFundMe launch, and one of the reasons I was supposed to originally talk to Jeremy, and I was excited because it's really hard to get any startup CEO to sit down for more than about 5 minutes because he's always doing something. There's like 90 calls and 30 emails and 40 people that want his attention. So I was supposed to have Jeremy. He's like, look, I got my launch. I'm sorry. He's like, you know what? Totally get it. Send me some of your best people. And so I'm glad you guys are here. So talk about the launch, talk about the whole process building up to it, and then since.
Yeah, I mean, number one, best people. Oh, they should have picked somebody else.
That is a loaded title.
He said he told me I'm going to send you some of my best people. I go, great. I'm sure you will. I have no doubt about it.
That's very thoughtful.
Yeah, exactly.
So the crowdfunding campaign was really, I think, when we got to talking about like what this was going to look like, Jeremy put everything on the line to get this thing off the ground. He sold his house. He drew on his retirement savings. Like he personally said, I believe in this at a level that I'm prepared to take what I own and cash in my chips and just build Leyline. Like he is all in on this. He left a decade-long career at Blizzard and sold everything he owned to just get Leyline off the ground because he understands that that's what it's going to take. It's going to take that level of commitment to get something like this to really flourish. The GoFundMe is sort of the natural extension of that. We're working really hard to find sponsors, partners, organizations that will donate rewards to our platform that we can use as incentives to get people to participate. The platform itself, fundamentally the long term is as we get all these people online and we get all these partnerships developed and built out, we will create sort of a self-sustaining ecosystem where we're drawing enough raw power from enough different people that the platform is going to kind of pay for itself. Okay. But the GoFundMe is really how we want to get people involved, get people started. It's a chance for people to demonstrate that they see this value for the people who we know that have the resources and are in that position in their lives to be able to say, yeah, cool, here's the $5, the $10, the $100 that I've got. That money is how we're paying engineers, front-end engineers to build the website, how we're paying people to design and code the arcade system that's going to go in, how we're getting all of the security systems built to keep our marketplace safe so that it's not being used for, purposes other than what it's designed for. That's all going to cost money. And so we spent months working on, okay, let's get a really firm foundation together. Let's make sure that everyone understands our mission, our vision, our core values. Let's cement those things. Let's then take those things and use them to develop. We had a really great launch video. We have this incredible, if you haven't been to the website, go and check out, the designers did unparalleled work on that website. All of those things came together. We wanted to get all those things in place so that we could then launch this crowdfunding campaign and be able to show people what it is that they are supporting. Because I know that when you think about crowdfunding campaigns, I think most people's brains latch on to Kickstarter, right?
Yeah.
Where the idea is I'm paying for something I won't get for a while, right? Right. Just a pre-order under any other name.
Right.
That's not what this is. What we're trying to do is say, we have this thing, it exists. We're not asking you to buy into an idea. We're asking you to support growing what already exists. So we had to get it up and running to show people what was possible.
Right, and like I said, there's transparency all around the board. If you go on YouTube, you can literally see meetings where we're discussing what the structure is going to be and you can see how many people are on the Zoom call just working and thinking and brainstorming together. And like he said too, it's not one day it'll be a thing. It's happening right now. You can donate your computing powder. You can sign up to be a part of the testing and really see it from the inside out currently in real time as we are speaking right now. Outside of this podcast,
right,
it's happening and you can see it and you can feel it. Yeah, and I think the main thing again is just reaching as many people as possible. And
Got it.
GoFundMe is going to help that to help build the best system, because it's not going to one person's pocket, right? It's
No.
literally so you can see exactly where it's going to. And I think a lot of Kickstarters aren't really transparent either. It's like, you will do this and I'll give you a reward, but there's no
Right.
real breakdown outside of like a pie chart.
Got it. Okay. So what's going on right now is that people can utilize their unused processing power on your platform for these research projects. So I noticed on your website, LeylineGG, LeylineE.gg. If you don't, and for people, for people who don't know where that word comes from, I encourage you to look that word up, find that word, read the definition of what a ley line is. Read that, because when you understand the definition, you understand what is going on right now with this concept. So I saw on your website that you can, when it comes to the processing power, that's active. But I didn't see that you could. Coming soon, you have two things. You have the blood donation and you have the exercise concept. So I guess my question is, give me some thoughts behind that. How can I do jumping jacks and it helps you out, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, so the long-term vision, obviously right now, it's super easy for us to verify processing power that you donate to Berkeley, right? Like, that's a very easy thing for us to track.
Right.
The goal of having a system that is transparent, that everyone can see how it works, who's contributed what, is that all of these things have to be accessible to people in some way. There are really good APIs for a variety of different things. So the reason you see things like exercise is we know that we can tap into, fitness apps or the Fitbit API or some number of other things where we can actually see, like, you can prove that you got your 10,000 steps today. And there's data in the world that we can use to verify that and reward you for doing it. Long term, the goal is just to see how far this thing can scale, right? We would love for it to be more than just what you see there. We would love to be able to find a way to easily certify something like maybe you did volunteer hours at a local homeless shelter. Maybe you donated food to a food bank. We don't have the tools today to verify those things, but as soon as we can find partnerships, find a way, find the data source to be able to verify your contributions, this should apply to everything. Like, that's the vision. Today, now, we have to start with what we can do with as little lift as possible, which is processing power, and hopefully, like you said, coming soon, some very simple health-related stuff. But the scale of the possibility is astronomical. It could go anywhere.
Got it.
Right. And you were asking about what does exercising do. We're thinking long-term, again, with all these little drops of water to build an ocean, right? To make change is like, if one person is taking care of their health, we don't have to worry about it. It's like a longevity of your health. Your lifespan is greater. Your health is greater. Your heart is greater than, not exercising. And then you go to the doctor, and then, there's a series of problems if you're not checking in with yourself. So I think even on a small scale, like 10 jumping jacks helps the longevity of your life than going to the doctor once every 5 years.
Got it.
We know, like, getting your 20 minutes of fresh air and exercise a day, the impact that has on your health as a person is enormous. And public health, I mean, we all kind of know what public health looks like right now.
Right,
There's a lot
exactly.
of public health questions, but if you can do a small thing that makes the load on the system slightly lighter, that makes it so that there's less need for, you to go see a doctor, that's good. And
preventative.
It's just a way for us to look around and say, what can we be doing that makes the world a slightly better place? And people being healthy, that's a really obvious fit.
It is. Wow, there's a lot to this. There's a lot going on. There's a lot happening. There's a lot that is coming. Dolly, Kevin, thank you very, very much for making time for me today. No problem. I'll be sure to put all the links to Leyline, to their Twitter, to your guys' Twitter, and Dolly, to your Twitch stream as well. I'll put all that down below. I'm in the description. Thank you very much, guys, for talking to me today. If you have questions, go to LeylineGG. I believe the Twitter handle is at LeylineP. Is that right? At LeylineP. Is that what it is? Sorry, at Leyline.
NP for nonprofit. Yeah.
At LeylineNP. Follow them on Twitter. Dolly and Kevin, thank you very much for talking to me today. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure, man. Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you for tuning in today. You can find links to everyone on the show in the description below. Check out Bill the Conqueror on Twitch and Twitter to stay up to date on his thoughts and ideas about gaming culture.